In this tutorial, I'm going to look at the new configurator in Solid Edge 2022, and you may or not know that some of the functionality is available in Foundation, Classic and Premium, and then there is an add-on to give you the extra functionality that you may require. So I'll try and sort of cover off some of those differences as we go through the demo. So we have a conveyor here that we're going to work with. You can see that it's set up with rollers, and it's going to have a set width, height, and so on. Now the Design Configurator is one of these tools off on the left, so if we click over there, we can sort of pin that into the window as you need to. And you'll see that we have 4 steps available to build your configuration. And obviously the first step is to add in which components you want to work with. So from here, we're going to look here. We can show the tree mode, so you can pick items from within here, or we can just go over to the right hand side and choose what we want. So we can go, we want to have the conveyor, the roller master, and we'll have both side panels. We'll have the leg and the foot. So I've used Control click to select all of those, and once we've done that, we can add that to the selection over here, so you can see that they've all been ticked. So obviously as we go over here, they're highlighting, but they're not sort of highlighting from over here, so sometimes it's easier to see where things are working from. So that's the first stage. We'll also see later that in the what they call the standard mode, which is the add-on, you can actually go into settings over here, and you can switch between the two if you have both. It starts off as being basic, and if you buy the add-on, you can then select the standard. So I'm going to leave it on standard for the moment, but I will point out where there are things that are different. So if I go OK on there, another thing that you'll see is that you can have a section down here for embedded resources. So if I bring up a folder here with some images that I'm going to use later, these images are part of the more advanced option, so I'm just going to put them in there and then hide that away. So that is the first step done. With our components selected, I'm going to move on to the second step, which is to define the input fields. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can hit the add field command, and I'm just going to sort of cover the way that this works is that double clicking in here allows you to edit. So we can put in a value here. We want to specify that it's required, and again double click to make it active, and we want to make this decimal, which is what it is, and add a value in here. So this is what's going to be displayed. If you don't enter the label, then it will use the name associated with it. So we've got a number of options down here for field rules and values as well. So for our values, we can just click on here, double click, and I want to make this a maximum load of 50 and 100. So again, you can see you can just double click underneath the last one. You've got that in there, and we've got options on here on how it's going to be displayed in the form, and we've got options of using a text box, so you can type in drop down checkbox or radio buttons, and for this one I want to use radio buttons. So then if I just double click here for the second one, you can see that by doing that we're straight into edit field, which gives us a shorter process. So this field name I'm going to call frame. I want to make it a required field, and I need this to be a text, and for my label I want it to be frame style, and for this one I think we'll use a drop down option, and then we'll need to enter our values. So for this I'm going to use the option to add multiple values, so we can come over here so it's sort of less clicking, and we'll have stainless steel as well as the aluminium. So we can go OK on that, and you'll see that it creates the two fields for me automatically. Because we've put the full name in here, I won't go in and add a label, and I'll then come in and add another one for color. Again, we'll use text and double click again, and again we want to use radio buttons on here, and I'm going to use the multi-field one, so we're going to have orange, blue and green, and again I'll leave that as it is. So the next one here I want to use is R-type, which is short for the type of roller we're going to use. So we'll type that in. Again, we're going to use radio buttons, and we've got two values in here. Now what we're going to have is S and R, and they are going to be steel and rubber. So in this example I'm going to use the abbreviations here rather than sort of spelling it out, and you'll see that if we come back into here, you'll see that in some instances we've got sort of a common file name, so 439. You'll see we're using 439 on here, and we've got an R version and an S version, which is what we've added in here. So we're going to use that later on with some of the value settings that we can use. So I've just quickly added in the leg type with a round, square and aluminium option, a foot which is a round or square, and we have a length value. The spacing on the rollers is 40, so we've got length divisible by 40 on there. So we'll add in one more, which is the width. And the current width is 520, I think. And this is going to be a drop down, and we're going to have three widths, so 520, 620 and 720. So that completes out the basic layout. So far we've only covered the options that are available under the basic built-in tools. So now if we sort of move away from there, we're going to use those images that we had before. So if we go back to, say, our color, we can see that we've got the no label because we've written it out, but we have an image option here. So if you're on the basic version, this will be grayed out, so you can't go in and select it. So we can then sort of add a color in here like so. So we'll add the blue and green. Just delete that one, but which I did by mistake. We can do similar things with the roller type. So we've got a still roller, and we've got an image for that. And we have a rubber roller like so. So with the more advanced version, the what they call the standard, we're able to add in images. So I've just added in images for the leg type and the foot type. So if we now go back to the frame, if you remember, we had aluminium or steel. Again, this is part of the more advanced option, the add-on, but we can go into visibility and we can set up a formula. So you may have sort of seen some of this expression stuff available in the other parts of Solid Edge. You can see that we've got the input fields that we've defined over here, plus we've also got access to the assembly information as well. So what we want to do is just specify that if the max load, so double clicking on here, is less than 100. So you've got your tools down here to sort of specify what your formula is. So basically what we've done is we've set up a visibility rule to say that this will only be visible if the maximum load is less than 100. So we've only got the two options of 50 or 100. So the aluminium option is only going to be available with 50, but obviously if we add in other materials, then or weight, sorry, that will come through as well. Now if we just step over to step 3, so these are global rules that define how the whole thing is going to work, and we've got a global rule option in here. So the simple expression rule and the condition table rule are part of the basic functionality, and then the truth mapping, property binding and variable binding are part of the more advanced standard option. So for this example, we're going to use the truth mapping rule, and we're going to specify a number of roles. So this is a truth table, and we're going to specify a name for it. So we're going to call this conveyor type, and as part of the expression we'll go into the expression builder and we'll say we want to have maximum load whenever it is equal to 50, and if you want to, you can see we've got the options here. We can validate that and it becomes acceptable, so we go OK on there. We can add another row in and specify max load equals 100 and go OK on there. Then we're going to have a couple more, so we'll add another row, and this one needs to be in relation to the frame. So if we double click on frame here, if it's equal to aluminium, again double click and go OK, and then the final row is going to be the frame again is equal to stainless steel. So we've got our 4 rows, and we'll add in another couple of columns. If we scroll over here, we can reduce this. So this is sort of like a Boolean option. So in here we're going to have a 1 or 0. So I'm going to have a 1 in here and a 1 in here. So if we've got the conditions set as those two, and we'll just quickly go through and set up the other conditions we want. And what that means is that we have a conveyor type, so we can sort of put it in here. This is going to be a lightweight one. We'll have a normal and a heavy duty, and we'll use this at a later date in our roles back in here. So let's put these things into use. So if we start with the roller type, click on here and we'll go into visibility again. This is part of the more advanced standard option, and we only want to use the rubber option when the conveyor type is not equal to the heavy duty option that we set up, and we'll add that in there. Then on the leg types, we can add visibility on here. So for the round option, we want to go with conveyor type as being equal to the normal option. The square type when it's not equal to the light option, and for the aluminium we only want that to be available when it's equal to the light option. And then for the foot, we'll just have the round option here. That is when it's not heavy duty. So we'll use that conveyor type not equal to heavy duty, like so. And then finally, we'll add a condition of visibility on the color field, and we're going to have this time we're going to go field visibility, and we're going to have frame is equal to stainless steel. So we've added in the extra one here. So let's just look at how that's working at the moment. If we go to the play option, we can see that we have radio buttons with text. We have drop downs, radio buttons with images, and for the length and width we've got a drop down. So that sort of looks okay at the moment. Not going to do a lot at the moment because we haven't really pushed it through yet. So let's go back and add in another couple of rules. So this time we're going to use the simple expression rule, and as I said earlier, this is one of the basic ones and can be used in your standard solid edge. So for this we will call this one model path, and this is going to be a text variable. And then if we go into the expression, we were looking at these earlier on. We also have functions, and under path we got a number of ones in here. We want path to directory, so retrieves the folder name given a full file name. So we double click on that, and instead of the full path we need to change that. So if we go back to our variables and scroll right down to the bottom, we can look at our assembly information. So we've got the full assembly here, and I want to get this file name, so I'll just replace that in here. So basically what it does is it pulls out the directory that this file is located in. So we can go OK on there, and I'm just going to create a second one of these. So again, we'll give it a name, and in this case we want to call it egg file name. Again, this is going to be text. So for this we're going to use the expression, and I will use the file name. So we're going to use just copy part of what we need. So we want the 495. So we'll just take this portion here. You'll notice that we've got files for the both of the models. So we're going to utilize what we have for that. So if we put this in quotes because it's a text string, and then we want to add them together, so we'll use the plus sign and input leg input L type, and we need to add the .var onto the end there. So basically this is going to take the value from in here, the R, S or A, and append it onto that with the .par. So this just gives us that information there, and we'll sort of need to use that at a later date. So now we move on to the key part of the whole thing, which is getting it reconfigured for each variation. So if we click in step 4, and the order here is the order in which it's going to get processed. So we'll just rearrange this. So you can click on it and just drag it up to where you want it to be. And you'll see that what I'm doing is putting all the parts first, and then the sub-assemblies and the main assembly last. So that's the order in which we're going to do it, and then we can click on one of these and add a model rule. So not all of these are available in the basic version. I think variable, property, feature suppress, and I think save model as are all in the basic version. What we're going to do is do a replace model, which is part of the more advanced option. So we can double click on here and go browse. Under browse documents, if I click and then right mouse click, I can go add, and I can add in this part here, and that drops that in. So I can then just click on it and go OK, and then double click in here to go to the expression builder. And for the expression we want to have the frame and equals stainless steel. Again, double click to get that in. So while on the same part, we're going to do the aluminium version as well. So we'll do a replace on that. Just realised this one should have stayed what it was. So obviously we want to have both versions. So the 249 is the steel and the 248 is the aluminium. So we'll go with that one. So it's, you know, if you switch from the 249 to 248, then you want to go back, then you need to have both in there. And again, we want to have the frame style equal to aluminium. Go OK. So now we'll use one of the basic options. So we want to do a set variable. And for this, we want to do contour flange, which is currently 800. And we want to set that to the length. So we haven't used any of the options, it's just whatever the length is set to. And then finally we'll do a face style, which again is a more advanced one. And for this, we want to choose the by expression. And again, we've chosen the definitions of these to coincide with what we had in our library. So from there, we want to go through and do the same for obviously the second item. So just to go through that again, we want to do a replace model. And again, frame is equal to stainless steel. Now I'll just skip through the rest of those outside of the video, but you can get the idea. So for the next one down, we're going to do a replace model. This time we'll do by expression. And for this, we're going to do model path. Plus the leg file name. So that will build up the string for us. So that will replace that one. And then obviously we'll do the same sort of thing in the assembly. So the first assembly will create another replace, and we want to use the by expression. And for here, we will use the model path again. And we're going to add to that the file name and go OK. And then for the roller master, you'll see that we have the again, for the assemblies, it's broken down into the different types. So we'll utilize that wherever it is. Assemblies, the roller master, and then we've got a BUP, not 495, 520 S and R. So we've got a variable set up for that. So we'll go into here and set up the model path plus the roller file name. And for this one, we need to add in the extension as well. So it'll be .asm and go OK. So that then sort of defines our setup. So we'll save this out. So the final start is to just hit the play button and choose our options. We'll go stainless steel, blue, rubber roller, round leg, round foot, 1000 long by 620 wide, and we go create. And it's going through recreating these things in the order that we had specified. And at the end, you finish up with a completed model based on the requirements that we have set. And here we have a pack and go option so that we can just take out this version of what we want and put it into a new folder or whatever we want to do with it. So yeah, that just sort of completes the process. Hopefully you've learned something about how the two versions differ, and maybe have a chance to have a play yourself.